Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, a racing VTuber and an artist. Today we're going to be continuing work on this page here. I kind of want to redo Hawk again. I kind of want to redo the drawing here. I don't know, there's something about it that I'm not really happy with. Like, it doesn't feel cartoonish enough if that makes any sense. There are some parts of it that I like though. So here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to copy and paste this. Just in case I can't find anything better. Or rather, I can't do anything better, but I'm convinced that I can. I wouldn't be spending more time on this if I didn't think I could do it better. Let's see here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yeah, I think we had the bottom one there. Okay. So what we might do is we might actually spread these out a little bit more to kind of give more of the impression of speed. Like this. Okay, there we go. That looks kind of crooked, huh? Hang on. Hold up. Let's try that again. Oh, I also need to remember to use lines like this. Something that I've noticed is that even though I really like to do these speed lines by hand, I often need to be more careful with how I make them because of the fact that if I make them too carelessly, it ends up often looking crooked in a way that I don't really enjoy. So yes, caution is necessary. Also, I might just erase this part here. Although, let me shut this part out. Yeah, this feels slightly better. Even though it looks a little bit... What's with this line here? You see how it kind of like curves towards the end a little bit? What's up with that? Let's simplify a little bit and see if we can't work out those kinks. Let's get rid of this arm for now. I kind of want to make it look like Hawk is diving in. If you might pardon the expression bordering on a pun. I might grab that hand later though. That's why you gotta make duplicates, right? That's why you gotta have some kind of backup on hand. Very important to have that. Okay, then over here we can have the other side of the wing. The one on the right feels correct, but the one on the left is a little... Does this one also need to be shorter, perhaps? This feels right. But I feel like anything I can do to make it more like what I want is going to fall flat. On the topic of the helmet, it might be possible to just make an ellipse here and then wrangle that around a little bit. Draw vector line width. Make this just much thicker. I think we need to make these two bottom ones corners. I feel like that might help us to wrangle them a little better. Good luck with the comics. Thank you. Thank you. Also, hi, Adam. Yeah, we're hopefully gonna finish. If nothing else, we're gonna finish this panel because we've been working on. So these two top ones took us like a session. That's fine. This one here, something about the way that Hawk is in this panel is just really whooping my butt. So hopefully we'll be able to get past this wall here. This is like my current Sisyphean rock. I've seen like clips of like people playing a game where you have like a rock that you're pushing up. Like you're literally like Sisyphus. Is that an actual game that you can purchase and play? I'm not really interested in most rage games because of the fact that I don't like getting angry for the entertainment of others. But that one feels like it might be up my alley. I don't know. I feel like that one could click with me. You know how like even though what do you call getting over it is supposed to be a rage game, but some people aren't able to like speedrun it. I feel like that one could be it for me with the Sisyphus game. God, so, some dude, some dude who's just like really good at the Sisyphus game gets banished to the afterlife, and for his eternal punishment, he has to roll a rock up a hill, be in lieu of that mythological punishment. And like he looks at the camera like he's in the office because he knows like the speedrun strats. It is easy to feel a connection with Sisyphus is the thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just a symptom of the digital age or something. But I don't know. That guy kind of that guy kind of knew what's up. You know, it feels like he understood the assignment, so to speak. Do you reckon that back when the myth of Sisyphus was first widespread, there was like just some random Greek dude in a toga falling to his knees like at the amphitheater, just like clutching his seat, like, "Oh, he's just like me. He's just like me for real." Like, do you think that happened? I mean, obviously, the idea of most works of fiction is to find something that resonates within you or understand a message that it's trying to impart. But like, do you think like we had dudes who are just like he's just like me for real even back then? Because I feel like we must have, right? Like it's impossible not to relate to some characters on a personal level. And but I'm just wondering if we had like some kind of like Denji Chainsaw Man moment, right? Of the dude clutching the TV and going like that. God, and some dude getting the fucking going to fucking eat. Some dude who is in the first half of Oedipus going like, oh, he's just like me for real, and then in the second half he's like, wait, no, walking it bad, walking it back, walking it back. God. Hmm. Okay, then over here. That's the thing, right? Like how, like on the one hand, I understand that fundamentally most people will find some kind of character that they can project themselves onto, but on the other hand, most Greek myths had the characters like fuck up massively and get punished by the gods. Instead of trying to catch every episode of your favorite show and rewatching episodes, you always got to be there for the performance. Yeah, you learn to read just so you can like write down the lines of the performance. You go to like the local bards college or whatever they had back in that era. I don't know. They must have had like obviously they must have had some kind of like professional actors guild or something, right? But I'm wondering like the local acting troupe, and you need to like take lessons so that you can tell the story and like remember the story intricately. We talk a lot about how like Fujoshis carry the back of the current of the modern otaku market on their back, but I feel like I feel like they have nothing on like the commitment of the people who were obsessed with like Greek plays back in the day. Like they are warriors in arms, real recognizing real, so to speak. You know, I feel like a Fujoshi and an ancient Greek poet would have got along surprisingly well. I feel like they have similar interests and overlaps of ideals. I don't know. I feel like they could be able to they would be able to communicate to some extent. All right, then over here. Hold on, what's going on here? Oh, there we go. Experiments for when time travel is invented. Yeah, we bring back one of the ancient Greek poets and just introduce him to Shonen anime and yaoi, and we see like what his thoughts are. I feel like we would be able to make create the most intense homoerotic rivalry ever put to pen and paper if we combine those two forces. Like if we combine the average like shaft or like clamps, I think clamp is the one that has the those kinds of dojins. I don't remember. I myself I'm not a yaoi warrior, so I can't really say for sure. You know, I have not studied the ancient texts, so to speak. But yeah, I feel like if we combine these two things, we might be able to produce some of the most kino shonen manga ever created. Damn, this strategy of just like making Hawk a triangle is really working out. Those people who were talking about like lines of action and bullshit were really onto something. It's like they knew like what they were doing. You know, call me crazy, but that Andrew Loomis guy might have been onto something here. The power of the humble triangle. What doesn't the triangle do for us? It helps me like to place my location. It creates my pyramid. My my like polygons are made out of it. What doesn't the humble triangle do for us? It's kind of crazy. Humanity really went hard when we understood the concept of the triangle. Geometry went hard as fuck when it dropped the triangle. I'm telling you, unbeatable. You want to talk about good comeback albums, right? You know, everybody. You know, they started off very strong with wheel, right? First shape ever invented, the wheel. People were pretty big fans of that. Then they went a little bit more experimental with the square. Now, not a lot of people are fans of square. It's a more niche thing. They want to try to go back to their roots as indie creators after their breakout success. Circle was kind of like their how do I put this? Like never like Circle was the never mind of shapes. for geometry. And Square was then trying to like do less accessible stuff, trying to really find themselves as artists. But then they dropped Triangle, and everybody loved that shit. All right, instant hit, no notes needed, tens across the board. It went triple platinum in its first week of release. I hear. It just went that hard. Of course, the tragic part is that after that, they really couldn't capture that lightning in a bottle again. They tried Hexagon, they tried Septagon, a bunch of other kind of Gons. They were on like a really big Gon kick after Triangle, but nothing ever came close to the peak, the absolute summit, the king of kings of shape based releases. Oh yeah, no. Sphere. Surprising story behind Sphere. From what I recall, Sphere is actually like a offshoot band. Like one of the guys that worked on Triangle and Circle originally actually broke off from the group to do his own thing. Yeah, something about like 3-dimensional or some bullshit. I don't really get it, but it's nice to just listen to sometimes. Yeah, he was like one of those dudes who worked better. Who worked better when he had like more freedom, but like that freedom gave him just access to do completely unhinged shit. So not a lot of people get it, but it's okay. It's not one of those things you have to get, right? It's more like one of those things where the experience is more important than getting it. It's about the vibes, precisely. Of course, then some fucked up freak ended up creating the equivalent of like noise albums by making 4-dimensional shapes. We don't really talk about that guy. He's fucked in the head. We don't speak of him. Yeah, the the 4-dimensional guys are like that one band who like stopped being allowed to play in public in Japan because their concert equipment was so loud or something that it interrupted local infrastructure. I don't remember like what their deal was. Hang on. Let me see if I can find the. Okay, there's a band called Hanatarash who was notorious. Like this is from the Wikipedia article from them, right? Hanatarash was notorious for their dangerous live shows. Some of the band's most infamous shows included eye cutting a. Okay, I'm not talking about that. Strapping a circular saw to his back, destroying part of a venue with an excavator by driving it through the back wall and onto the stage. At a 1985 Tokyo Superloft, the audience were required to fill out forms due to the possibility of harm caused by the show. The show was stopped. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so the frontman was called Yamantaka Ai. So that guy's the frontman. The show was stopped due to Ai preparing to throw a lit Molotov cocktail onto the stage. The performance cost 600,000 yen, or $9,000 in repair. After several years of the intense live shows, Hanatarash was forbidden from performing at most venues, and were only allowed to return to live performances in the 1990s after I would agree to cease his destructive on-stage behavior. What the fuck? This is like worse than I had expected. Like I was prepared for it to be like, oh, they played music so loud it like burst a pipe. No, this motherfucker brought an excavator. Call me crazy, but I don't think this guy is like bulldozer certified. I don't think this guy knows what forklift certification is. Well, I guess you have to be prepared to make a lot of sacrifices in the name of rock and roll. Although maybe these are too many sacrifices. That's you need fewer sacrifices. Put some of those back. You don't need that many sacrifices, bro. I'm amazed they were able to just keep going that long before people were like, "Hey, maybe let's not do that and destroy our stages and stuff." Yeah, like at most you see some bands destroying their instruments, right? Like we all know that one thing of like the guitarist like doing an overhead with his guitar and smashing it onto the stage, right? Some guitarists do that, and obviously it's a bad idea. You shouldn't destroy an instrument; those can get really expensive. But that at least that's their own private property. Those are their own possessions. This is like the venue's place. And you can be like, oh, it's about sending a message, but like you're hurting people. You're hurting the people who are willing to prop you up. That feels counterintuitive. Yeah, straight up like driving an excavator through the venue. Where did he even fucking find that? Who let this man borrow it? Like, did he go up to some dude with like a mustache, with like a fake mustache and a beard, and like was like, "Hey, bro, can I borrow this fucking excavator?" And they're like, "Oh, sure, young man." Say, you look a lot like that one dude who's a frontman for a band that like destroys their venues. Oh, no, that's not me. I fucking hate that guy, even though he's so handsome. Oh, well, okay then. Like, how do you like after the first time? Did they just like have like this dude's face plastered on excavator stores across the country where like, do not sell to this man? Yeah, sure, you can use our dangerous heavy machinery. Why not? And do you think like the guy later on in the day was like looking at the news and like just clutching his head in his hands, like, oh, I fucked up. Oh, I am so fucking fired up. I fucked up. Like that. Like, is this the equivalent of like I've never seen somebody get the heavy machinery equivalent of banned from the McDonald's in your state? I remember a long time ago, like a long time ago, like it must have been like over a year ago now. I was getting some food from a McDonald's, and I remember like the air in the McDonald's was very tense because apparently some dude who had been banned from the McDonald's was in there again, and like they had to call like security and everything. And I was just there trying to get like a fucking breakfast sandwich. Like instantly they were like, dude, we've told you you can't be coming back here, man. Do you think it was like that for him, but like at like the local Caterpillar store or something? Weirdly enough, that is like the second wildest thing to ever happen to me at a McDonald's. The first wildest thing is that I found out that you can like ask for plastic bibs at a McDonald's for like your kid or something. I did not know they had those in stock, but they do. Like even the person working the register was surprised that they did have those. But I think it's just such a good idea. Like I was genuinely impressed by the thoughtfulness of like such a such an amenity, right? Because like, have you ever seen a child eat? They are very messy eaters. They could use a bib sometimes. So yeah, point to McDonald's for having plastic bibs, minus several billion points for literally everything else. But yeah, they kind of cooked with that one. Okay, maybe I can I can increase the thickness of the outline for the gun here. Okay, like that. Perfect. Then over here. Yeah, see, this already feels so much more natural to me for some reason. I really can't explain what was bothering me about the other one. It didn't feel sufficiently impactful for somebody like speeding on a jetpack, I think. That's like my main thing about it. Whoop! No, come back! Come back! Listen, sometimes I hit the delete button a little bit too carelessly, and I pay my price for it. My action lines were so good, she escaped the page. You just hear like a and like the tearing of paper, and she's gone. She's out of here. Somebody should write an SCP article about me. I bet it would kick ass. Although, I don't know. The thing is, I feel like if I ever got an SCP, if I ever got sent to like the SCP universe, they would put me up like they would put Ryza Man up to fight SCP-628 for whatever reason. Like somebody would make that attempt, and I don't want to fight that fucking thing. So it's a big fucking lizard. I'm not fighting that guy. And I guess they can't force me to fight it if I don't want to fight it. But at the same time, I would feel a little bit obligated to at least like try to fight it. You know, big fucking lizards there, and and what am I gonna do? Not fight it? Come on now. I don't know much about SCP, but yeah, I think they kind of just throw everything they find at that guy at one point. Yeah. One of the things, I wonder if it's still there, actually. Hang on. I'm going to go to the SCP website real quick. I think it was like 916 or something. Yeah. They're really good at keeping things in boxes, but like not much else. Hang on. It's like a vending machine. 294? Is that the one? Yeah. Hang on. Licensing, addendum. I remember there. Hang on. Wait, no, I don't think this is the right one either. Is it 261? I think it might be 261. Oh yeah, I think it's 261. Oh yeah, they put it back. All right, sweet. All right, let me share something real quick. Let me put this up. Where is my browser source? Here we go. All right, SCP-261 Object Class Safe. Any access to SCP-261 must be approved by staff with Level 2 security clearance or higher. Any and all items dispensed by 261 must be recorded, along with the amount of money entered and the amount of time elapsed between uses. Currently, SCP-261 may be used only 10 times in a 24-hour period, with no transaction exceeding the equivalent of 500 Japanese yen. Testing approved by Site Command is not under these restrictions. Items dispensed by SCP-261 should be reviewed by Site Health and Safety officials before consumption. Failure to do so releases the Foundation from any obligation regarding negative effects. Items deemed dangerous or useful to research will be confiscated by Site Security, with financial compensation provided in proportion to money spent. Description: SCP-261 appears to be a large, black vending machine with no front glass panel, and a small keypad on the right side. 261 was recovered in Yokohama, Japan. 261 was brought to the Foundation's attention after investigations of an urban legend about a magic vending machine that was circulating on the internet. 261 was found in a back alley behind a large shopping center, with a handwritten sign saying "out of order" in Japanese taped to it. 261 has no marks or identification of any kind, and no local remembers when or how it came to be in its current location. Internally, 261 appears to be a basic vending machine equipped to vend food and beverage items. After a key was made and the front door opened, no abnormal materials were found, and it was determined that 261 has never actually contained any food or beverage items. The keypad, while connected and operating correctly, does not activate any of its dispensing mechanisms. When money is placed into 261 and a 3-digit number is entered on the keypad, 261 will vend a random item. 261 has not accepted any currency other than yen, with rejected currency being deposited in the coin return slot. It is unknown how these items appear. However, 261 will not operate when the door is open, or when recording devices are placed inside. The number entered on the keypad has no effect on the item vended, nor has any pattern ever been detected. Items are always come in some sort of snack food, and typically have a bright, attention-grabbing packaging. 261 is capable of operating with no external power supply, but operation in this state will cause unstable vending to occur much more quickly than normal. If 261 is used several times in a short period of time, and/or large amounts of money are entered before an item is vended, 261 will start to dispense bizarre items. While still food, their suitability for human consumption is often non-existent. 800 yen entered for each item. Items being dispensed every 2 minutes. SCP-261 is attached to power. Coke Zero. A can of Diet Coke, packaging in English. Cheetos. A small bag of Cheetos snack food, packaging in English. Black Black. A single pack of caffeinated chewing gum, packaging in Japanese. Yan Yan. A single Yan Yan cone with peach dipping frosting, packaging in Japanese. The Meiji Seika Company does not produce this flavor. Pepsi Dragon Twist. A can of Pepsi Cola with a trace of fruit flavor, packaging in English. Flavor identified as dragon fruit. PepsiCo does not produce this product. And so on and so forth. But my favorite thing to scroll through a long time ago was the experiment log 261 and add DE, which is a massive list of what I assume are community submitted experiments with the vending machine. And I just love scrolling through this thing and just reading them. It is so much. Money entered 500 yen. Unpowered or powered. Item description: a single box of Pop-Tarts, starfruit flavor. Kellogg's does not produce this product. I don't know. There's something about 261 261 that just really tickles my imagination. I don't know. Maybe it's because I liked Willy Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as a kid, but something about it just seems really cool. It's really fun when you get some pretty open-ended ones like that. Yeah, same thing with the one that is just like a machine that can upgrade things. I really like that one too. I don't know. Maybe it's I really like I really like the idea of really open or creative item crafting. Like, for example, I really like the alchemization binges in Homestuck as well. I was a huge fan of when we got to see those. In retrospect, I understand why they didn't happen too frequently, because the kind of production behind that one is, if you take into account having to make a graphic for everything, having to come up with a combination of items, I can understand why it's very resource heavy and it didn't happen often, but God, did I love those. God. It's so crazy how just relying on the humble triangle helped make this so much better than it was previously. I feel like I popped off for real. What can I say, Triangle? You've done it again. Was it one text post that was like, "What can I? My thirst is quenched. Gatorade, you've done it again." That's exactly how I feel about this, but like regarding triangles. How would we survive without the humble triangle? What a miserable existence a triangle-less existence would be. Could you imagine if video game characters had to be made out of squares rather than triangles in their polys? Unbearable, unbelievable. I would not stand for that shit. Hmm. It's kind of interesting. Do you? Okay, so this might be like a paranoia thing, right? Or like I might be onto nothing here. Do you suppose like the reason that so many protagonists in like anime and or rather like Japanese video games had that kind of spiky haircut, not just because of Goku influencing their design, but also because like no. I'm onto nothing. I'm onto nothing. I was gonna say, do you reckon that it was because like spiky triangular hair is easier to render in polys? But no, like Goku predates like most of the or does he? Like how old is Goku relative to the PS1? When was Dragon Ball released? First appearance, okay, 1984, and the PlayStation 1 was like way after that, right? Yeah, 1995 or 1994 in Japan. Okay, yeah, I know. So the idea of like a spiky hairstyle protagonist, it does predate the PlayStation 1 and such by a large margin. Damn, I thought I was onto something there. Well, in any case, it must have made their life easier. Like got like you got some dev like trying to sculpt Cloud Strife's hair in the Square Enix offices and being like, "Oh man, this is kind of hard." But could you imagine how much harder it would be if like Squares were the predominant hairstyle shape in anime and manga? Meanwhile, some dude in Bizarro universe Square Enix offices is just like, "Oh my god, why did they have to make them squares?" Some people make up guys to get mad at it. I make up guys who are just having a really bad time of the worst time of their lives. Hmm. Maybe this still doesn't seem right. Maybe I need to put it closer up. Making up universes to say, thank God it's not us too. God. It makes me laugh, but that's probably not very good for your health to just like make up those universes, huh? I don't know. I feel like that's just a really good way to give yourself anxiety. Well, I guess it's also important to be grateful for what you have. This is not a bad exercise to try that out. Hang on. Hmm. Maybe if I just leave the lines on top, that'll work properly. Nah, I think erasing them is like the right idea. Or maybe, I don't know what's bugging me about this. Maybe I need to make it like parallel to the borders here. I think that might be the case. Okay, then over here we can grab. Let's grab this one and put it here. And I should set up one of those special rulers to help me make these speed lines. But yeah, in any case, I feel like I'm pretty happy with where Hawk is at right now. So I'm going to leave that there for the time being. We've at least accomplished that much. I'm happy if that's the case. Right then, back to making the mega structure. Hmm. Going back to the topic of the SCP universe, I don't know. I feel like hashtag real snackers would be. I do think that like there's a lot of evil stuff going on in the SCP universe, obviously, but I feel like some people would be tempted to be dropped into it just for the chance to sample some of the stuff from the vending machine of dreams. Oh my god, it's straight up the dream machines from Yakuza 0, isn't it? Just instead of like random car parts or guns, it can occasionally dispense just like really weird snacks. That is kind of living the dream if you think about it. I feel like that's like their just reward for having to deal with all the bullshit of their universe. So it's like they get the snack without limits. We get to not be live in the universe where like an evil dragon god is sleep. It needs to be kept at bay through a horrible ritual. It's a little bit of tit for tat. Yeah, you got to survive all the horrible stuff there, but you might get a cool snack every now and again. The snack of legends. Hmm. I don't know. I feel like when I was growing up, my favorite snack used to be like popcorn or like granola bars. I'm not sure if I have a favorite snack anymore. I just kind of snack on whatever is available. My favorite snack is whatever is in front of me. I was stuck in a little bit of snacking hell upon first arriving to where I currently live because of the fact that when I I didn't realize just how huge potato chips are here. Like believe it or not, I'm not actually a fan of some potato chips. I don't like how greasy they are. I'm not a fan of those too much. But the thing is, like, not liking those rules out like 80% of the snack biodiversity in North America. So I've needed to find different ways. I don't know. Potato chips just never really clicked with me. There's so many goddamn chips. Why do you people need all those potato chips? I thought you guys had burger. Why do you need like 800 varieties of potato chip? On the other hand, I get it, right? Like, I don't like potato chips, but I get it. If you have like one good thing that goes with everything, there's no reason to like not try it with everything. But at the same time, there's so many flavors, so many varieties. It feels it's a little bit like like a microcosm of the experience of like going through like the detergent aisle at the supermarket. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many options to choose from, so many of which are just quintessentially the same, but they're slightly different. You don't want to fuck up your choice because that might like affect you insane style down the line. What else are we gonna eat burger with? Hmm. You have a point. I don't know. Like if only there was like a different sort of snack food that was a potato based snack food that was usually paired with burger. Maybe also fried. I don't know. Maybe we can repurpose the fryers. I don't know though. Like I can't think of literally anything else that we could do with potatoes. Who can say? I don't know. That's I'm not the man that's gonna figure out that problem. That's for sure. Maybe if we were to chop the potatoes in some kind of like julienne style arrangement. No, I'm talking crazy. I don't know. I don't know what came over me. I'm sorry. I'm talking crazy. Hmm. Get out of here with those outlandish ideas. I'm bled like a dog for my radical potato inventions. I will say though, my favorite ever experience with potato chips, because like I don't like them that much, but I do enjoy them on occasion. My favorite potato chips are those like where they just have like plain potato chips, but they have the one side covered or dipped in chocolate. Those kind of go hard. I'll admit, potato chips popped off with that one. Credit where credit is due. Potato chips popped off with that one. Okay, then over here. That is at least one thing with the sheer amount of chip. Yeah, it does lend itself well to creativity, huh? Yep. I will say, I one time I saw a comic where people were eating like these white like these white mini pretzels. And I'm like, wait, did the artists just like forget to like fill in the color for those? Why are those pretzels like white instead of like their usual golden crispy brown? And it turns out that the artist had not, in fact, forgotten to color in the pretzels. They just like have yogurt covered pretzels out here. I didn't. Those were not a thing where I was from, so that was also another surprise. Like, oh my god, the white pretzels are real. I had no idea you could do that to a pretzel. That should be the tagline for like an Auntie Anne's store, right? I had no idea you could do that with a pretzel. If I was running the joint of Auntie Anne's, that would be like my tagline for the pretzels there. Guy who does incomprehensible and frankly bizarre things to pretzels. I want to go to the store. If you ever get the chance, I do recommend it. Especially the like cinnamon. Let me try that one last time. Cinnamon sugar pretzels. Super good. I haven't had many chances to partake myself. For some reason, they only ever seem to spawn at airports. That's the weird thing about Auntie Ants. They show up in the weirdest fucking places you could imagine. It's never like at a shopping mall or anything. It has to be at at an airport or like some kind of remote location. I'm pretty sure they're trying to set one up on the ISS. That last bit was a joke. I don't know who's gonna be the one who sets up the fucking interstellar Auntie Ants. I feel like if our first contact with aliens is our pretzel technology, I feel like we will easily impress them. That's like my personal opinion, but I feel like we will easily impress any alien with our pretzel technology. Like we'll have like one of those little green men taking a bite of our cinnamon sugar pretzels, and they'll be like, "Holy shit, we need to get in touch with this culture, man!" Like you don't understand. It's gonna be like that scene from the B movie where like the Adam Sandler bee or like Jerry Seinfeld bee. I forgot which fucking guy plays the bee. The Jerry Seinfeld bee stuffs a thing of like a Cinnabon into his friend's face and is like, "Try this," and like the guy's like, "This is not over. What is that?" It's exactly like that. That's precisely how it's going to be. Yeah, putting our best foot forward. Genuinely, I think of some kind of like Star Trek future where we get to intermingle with bizarre alien species happens. I think humans are going to be the only ones who fuck with food the way we do. I feel like alien species don't understand the concept, would not be able to have the technology to understand the concept of like umami. Their best nerds are trying to figure it out, but for the life of them, they cannot understand it. The humble bottle of soy sauce contains higher levels of technology in its entire being than your average culinary advancements of an alien race. Oh god, yeah. Once we get our hands on like alien stuff, it's gonna be like dungeon meshy, but with like some kind of like weird lumpy shaped fruit from another planet. Yeah, exactly. Dungeon meshy in space. You read my mind. Stellar meshy. Honestly, I'm surprised that isn't like a concept already. Given how many manga there are about food, I'm surprised nobody's done like eating stuff in interstellar space. I mean, I think the main issue then is like how to not just be dungeon known as a manga that's just like dungeon meshy but in space, right? I feel like differentiating yourself from that point is what's going to be the most challenging, and that's why it might not have as strong of a legs as we think. Because the thing about Dungeon Meshi is that while on the one hand, yes, it is about eating foods in fantastical environments, the much stronger narrative element driving behind it is like humanity's relationships to food, and also like these kind of like themes of like obligation, of family, of survival, of like sacrifice. It's very well woven together. However, it's like once you go there, what other kind of stories can you tell about food? And I think like that's going to be the real challenge if anybody ever wants to make a story about it, like people eating things that they're not that ordinarily they wouldn't be eating. There's so much more going on in there. Exactly. Oh, I see. I see. I see. It goes without saying that it needs to have Yuri in there as well to be successful. That's the other half of the equation of that lightning in a bottle that hasn't been quite captured. All right. Putting that aside. My brain just gave me like Guy Fieri diners, drive-ins, and dives. What about space restaurants? That would be kind of fun, actually. Captain Harlock, but it's about reviewing restaurants. I've never actually read Captain Harlock, but it looks very promising. You gotta give props to any manga or comic that can make its main character iconic, even though he straight up has like a skull and crossbones on his shirt. I feel like the humble skull and crossbones is like an excellent indicator of like whether you're just like using symbols for the fuck of it, or if you can like do something cool with it, right? Because Captain Harlock has like a skull and crossbones on his shirt, I believe, but it still manages to be a very iconic design. I feel like I don't know. There are like these universal symbols that are understood, and using them irresponsibly just dilutes the whole design, right? Like if you give a guy a skull and crossbones motif on their clothing, that guy better be a fucking badass. That guy better be like some kind of crazy person, delinquent or maniac, because you have just some random bandit with like skull and crossbones on there. I don't know. I feel like perhaps I'm getting too pretentious about it. Maybe the whole idea behind the skull and crossbones is that it's pretty universally meant to be understood that this thing is bad, right? Whether that's in the context of like being a pirate flag, of it being poisonous. So on the other hand, while it does need to be used responsibly, there's something kind of wholesome about seeing it in the wild. You see some dude wearing a skull and crossbones, and it's kind of like how you remember when Pearl played like Cadillacs and T Rexes or something like that, and there was this dude called like Knife or Cut or something like that, and he was like a very stereotypical like gangster thug. I feel like if that guy had a skull and crossbones on his design anywhere, like he would have been like chef's kiss, no additional notes. It's kind of, I guess, less than wholesome. It's more so nostalgic or honest. Even do I dare say honest? Because I feel like when you have that going on, it makes it feel like you're like what this dude's about. Like, bro has a skull and crossbones on his shirt. You know what this dude is about. He is all about that ne'er do well lifestyle. Yeah, like you kind of understand vaguely what's going to be up with Skull and Crossbones guys. Like he doesn't have that shit on him because he's nice, right? Like he doesn't have the universal symbol for like poison and a whole bunch of other bad stuff because he's like a decent upstanding citizen. Nah, nah, nah. There's something else going on with this dude. I don't know. It's got to kick a little bit of ass to be the guy in your hypothetical gangster squad who has the skull and crossbones motif, because I feel like that's just a place, something you could place anywhere, right? You know, like dude who has like a flame like that, like flame pattern motif. He's got some limited options. He can put it on his shirt. He can put it on his pants. Maybe on a bandana. But it's kind of difficult. It's not nearly as universal of a symbol. It's not like trade. It's not got the same kind of like brand applicability as skull and crossbones. It's got to be kind of like having your pick of the NFL draft, really. If you have the skull and crossbones motif under your hat or in your corner, rather. Like during the delinquent playoffs, you have like everybody picking their thing, right? Like there has to be one dude with chains, one dude with knives, one dude with like skull and crossbones, and like the skull and crossbone guy is always like super excited to get it. They're like, yes, and like everybody else is bummed that they don't get skull and crossbone. But that's why it's a team sport. Even though skull and crossbone is definitely like the leading star, nobody, this whole thing couldn't work without everybody pitching in. At the end of the day, that's what matters. It's not about the actual amount of delinquency you have. It's not about how much money you make off of it. It's about being a family. Yeah, you got to have the whole team out there. It doesn't work. There's no I in team, fellas. There's no I in gang either. There's no I in thuggery. All right, get out there and be a goddamn team. I was gonna say, imagine like a sort of Hallmark movie where a washout delinquent who used to be like a gang member or the leader of his own gang has to like shape up a bunch of criminals, not necessarily correct them, just like make sure that they're competent enough to operate independently. It's like some kind of like Field of Dreams type situation. God. I was gonna make a joke about that, but I realized that that's kind of like the plot line to at least a couple of the Yakuza games. I think, like Kiryu did already do that. In fact, I'm pretty sure that was like the whole thing of like Yakuza 2 that Kiryu just would no longer wanted to be like the coach to the fucking Tojo family because they're a bunch of dipshits, and now he had to find Daigo. God, it well and truly must fucking suck to be Daigo Dojima. I wonder how he's doing in Infinite Wealth. I haven't really caught up to the Yakuza franchise past two, so I really don't know what his deal is like once he got appointed to be the head of the Tojo clan. I don't have high expectations for him, frankly. He seems like kind of a bumblefuck, but he's the best we got. Kiryu obviously doesn't want to do it. He wants to run a fucking orphanage because he's based. So I'm kind of hoping it's left in good hands, but I kind of doubt it. I don't have high expectations for him. Bro looks like a fumbler. For real. Maybe he pulls himself together. Who knows? I don't know. That might be the case, honestly. Like I said, I'm not really aware of it, but I hmm, I don't know. I feel like we're going to be a little bit disappointed in his performance. Like Daigo at some point goes to like a fortune teller. Is like, I'm like the head of I'm the head of the Tojo clan. Do you think this get better from here? And she's like, all right, well, good news. You're gonna be the last. The good news is you're not gonna need to worry about appointing another Tojo clan head in your lifetime. Bad news. How's your like life insurance? Right about now. Like, do you have that? No. Yes. Maybe. God. Like some dude in the Omi Alliance, it's like, all right, it's fucking rough out there, but every morning I wake up and I'm like, well, at least I'm not Daigo Dojima. Like that's like he's the bar. If you're having a worse time than Daigo Dojima, you need to like restructure. You need to seriously reconsider the actions and words that have left you to this moment. You know how like they conducted studies about how happy people were in Norway compared to North America and whatnot. Daigo is like the like low bar. Like he's like the low. Like if Daigo had appeared in Norway during that time and had taken part of that survey, he would have tanked their results single handedly. Bro is an outlier and should not have been counted. I'm being very mean to him right now, and I do feel like I should apologize at some point, but it is kind of funny. Listen, he has a chance to prove me wrong. I will eat my words if I have to. I'm just saying, the first few days in office for him were like not very. If the first few days in office for him were supposed to be like indicative of his career, shit is not going to be smooth sailing. All I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. Let's use the millipen for a minute here. Okay, then maybe use the G pen back here. Well, fumbler or not, we all just kind of try to do our best in the situations that we're given, right? He should be afforded some grace for that principle. Okay. Phew, okay, I think I've gotten my hater quota out of my system for today. That was good for me. You know, it's important to be a little bit of a hater about things that are unimportant, so you can be, and so you have like a. It's like remagnetizing a compass once it's out of whack. You got to be a hater about some inconsequential shit, so you know what to be a hater about when the time comes properly. It's like a test run. It's kind of like how you can test like fire extinguishers every 3 years or so just to make sure they still work. Actually, I don't think that that's a thing. Or yeah, it's like replacing fire extinguishers or like using one of those carbon monoxide beepers to test out your fire alarm. You just got to make sure everything's still running properly under the hood. Yeah, it's kind of like a muscle, right? If you don't use it, eventually you'll lose it, and like that's gonna come back to bite you in your old age. You know, you don't want to be the you don't want to be the first dude at the retirement home who has to use like the hater rehabilitation chamber. You know, the one time I did try to sneak into the old folks' home just to see what was up about with the hater rehabilitation chamber, but they caught me before I could go in. I heard screaming from in there. So yeah, try to exercise it properly. All right, over here. What's this? Hey, when I gotta go back into the chamber. Oh boy, looks like it's my turn in the chamber again today. All right, folks, if you don't see me back, tell Martha I liked her. All right, into the chamber I go. God. I do hope whatever the Switch 2 is like, it does have more motion control shit like the Wii used to have. Because I feel like the Wii was like the old folks console, you know? Not to disparage it in any way. I love the Wii. But I mean that in the most positive way that I can. The Wii was like the old folks console. Even if you weren't very good at video games, you could at least play on the Wii with the motion controls. Like everybody knew how to play Wii Sports with Sword. You just got to move the stick around, right? You just got to do a little bit of Just Dance, that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of hopes for the Wii 2, for the Switch 2, but I particularly hope that that it's within like my price range because I'm not gonna lie, I've never owned a Switch, and I do occasionally fear have some like do experience a little bit of FOMO from not owning a Switch. Like everybody was talking about like that one Animal Crossing game back in 2021, and I'm like, oh wow, that sounds kind of cool. Anybody still play like New Leaf or something? Like, do anybody play any of the DS games still? Visited my grandparents at the retirement home. They're at earlier in this year, and they still had the Wii U with Wii Bowling on there. All you need, really. Yeah. That being said, I think like a good solution, if perhaps not a perfect solution, is what Just Dance said in that it phased out its use of controllers and now it started just relying on phones. I don't know if they, I don't know too much about old folks' homes if they to what extent they the because I know like your autonomy is somewhat restricted there. Like, do they let you still have like personal phones or something? But if they do, then you know problem solved for Just Dance at least. Well, that's something that could be looked into at least. You know, in lieu of using a proper controller, you might be able to tap in with your phone. I don't know. I feel like on the one hand, that wouldn't make sense to executives because then you wouldn't get the extra revenue from selling a controller. But on the other hand, that extra revenue will instead go towards people participating in your games and people being interested in your games. I don't know. I feel like to some extent, once you get big enough, the main concern is no longer making a profit on each of your products, but because you know you're making a profit on each of your products, right? Like you don't need to ask a your average Nintendo executive or you know whoever is selling the Switches at this point isn't thinking about like, oh man, am I gonna like make margins on this device? Like no, you're guaranteed to make margins. You're one of the biggest companies and you have one of the best planning teams available. You're gonna make money. The question then is how do you corner the market? I assume it depends on the place, really. But at least one of the one my grandparents are at, there's like multiple levels where like places where they've got their own apartments as part of the place, or like more assisted living places where they're more actively taken care of. Ah, that's a sensible way to go about it. You know, everybody's needs are going to be different, so it makes sense that they'd have multiple levels. Depending on how old you're getting and how much you can still get around and stuff. That also makes sense. Yeah, that seems sensible. Okay, then over here. All right, now this big structure over here is going to be kind of like the big moneymaker in terms of just indicating that they're the place that they're in. Okay, then bring this over here. Okay, put this over here, this over here. I like these big open ones where it's kind of easy to tell where each one needs to go. Like it's so much more complicated back into the bottom. Okay. Over here we have a ladder, smooth and inoffensive. There we go. Perfect. All right, after that, is there anything else we need to do? There it is. I do think that's the only downside, is that it leaves behind that one dot where I needed to draw the line. Other than that, this method seems to be working quite well for me. I don't know. I think it's just nice that I don't have to go through the effort of like making each of these individual like color lines, if that makes sense. Like I don't need to worry about making these, coloring these in later. I can just like leave them as line art. Might not look as nice, but I mean, from a distance, I think it works pretty well. Probably better than if they were even like the color lines, because then I feel like once you get past a certain amount of detail, it just even more so than being useless, the detail just becomes actively distracting. At least that's how I feel about it. Maybe that's working with too broad of a picture. Also, because everybody's been talking about Fallout New Vegas recently, a bunch of people are playing Fallout New Vegas because of the TV show happening, and that also gave me a hankering to play New Vegas. But I'm trying to go as long as possible without replaying New Vegas, so that eventually, when I do end up playing it on stream in an unarmed only run, I can like go into it like fresh, right? I can go into it with like fresher memories, or actually the opposite. I can go into it with like very limited memories, just so I can recapture to some extent the experience of having it the first time. And so we've come to my own personal conclusion, which is that I'm going to start up a new Fallout 3 playthrough, which for the first time in my life has me excited to play Fallout 3. You'd really truly never know where you're going to end up in your life. I never thought there would be the day where I would be excited to play Fallout 3. Yet here we are. I try not to shit on Fallout 3 too much, because that's like liking Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and not liking Fallout 3 is like shitting on your own cousin, but like I did not have a great time with it during my first playthrough. They said it couldn't be done. they they said it couldn't happen, but it somehow did. And so here we are. All right, how's that look without the model? Pretty nice. Pretty nice, I gotta say. that don't look too bad at all. All right, make this ring inside here. Actually, I kind of like how it's getting wider back there. Let me see if I can't manipulate that a little bit. Perfect. I've literally forgotten most of everything about Fallout 3, so I'm gonna be bumbling my way through that. Okay, and over here. Oh, this is the leg of the. Okay, I was gonna say what like angle is this table at? But no, it's the leg of the cannon. Okay, we're cool. We're cool. We're cool. We're cool. We're cool. Okay, then over here. Really don't know what to do with these like squarish ones. I guess maybe I could like tie them together like this and then have them be like the threes, but then I feel like that's gonna get confused with the bottom of them. I think, but it's just better to just leave them alone. I will say, between Fallout 3 and New Vegas, I do feel like Fallout 3 does have a slightly stronger start to it. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Fallout 3's big weakness is that it keeps pushing you into like these narrative positions where you might not be like entirely in control of your character, right? Like the whole thing about chasing your dad and everything. People really like having a blank background compared to like having a narrative story. But I feel like it's not that bad to have like a narrative background for your character. It would have been nice to have like some more flexibility in it, but you know, I do feel like it's a more compelling opening chapter because it does have stakes compared to Fallout New Vegas, where you literally wake up after having been shot, and your only stake is like maybe getting revenge on the guy who shot you, which I don't really care about, honestly. Like I'm fucking happy I'm alive. I don't give a shit that that guy shot me. Really, I'll still kick his ass as the opportunity arises, but like I'm not that mad about it, like, about the whole experience. If I'm being quite frank. You know, I get that I'm supposed to be upset, but honestly, like, I'm just glad it's over with, you know? It's super funny, too, because, like, at first you're like, huh, you know, a bunch of people are trying to shoot me throughout this game, and we never go on quite the same degree of, like, rampage revenge quests as we do for them against like, say, Benny. But then I realized that that's probably because, like, half the time when people end up shooting at you, they, don't make it past the next hour, and they don't make it to see the next sunset. I'm like, oh, okay, so the courier's defining characteristic is that nobody fucks with them. Cool. Important to note. Yeah, very important information for people who are like trying to do that shit. Legionnaires in the wasteland be like, I got my whole life ahead of me. My brother in Christ, the courier, is approaching. God. I will say my favorite trick in Fallout is that in Nipton, in Fallout New Vegas, in Nipton, when you there's like a point in the game where some jagoff tries to tell you, "All right, listen, we messed up this town real bad. Make sure that you take what you've seen here and spread the fear of it to others. Let them know that we are nobody, we are not to be fucked with." And like they try to walk off, but what's really funny is that there's technically nothing stopping you from like putting 50 million landmines in the path of said Jagoff before he departs. And also, you just came out of like this place that has landmines everywhere, so you're kind of more or less flush with them. And so, the temptation of it can be quite enticing, even though there are consequences for it. I'm just gonna say it can be very tempting to do something with those two pieces of information. Like he just like smugly walks off directly into the path of the 50 trillion tons of dynamite that is like set off by proximity in his general direction. Yeah, two completely unrelated pieces of information. Well, probably unrelated to the guy that got blown up, but very much relevant to me, the guy who was blowing him up. You know, they do say that knowledge is power, but I guess it kind of depends on in whose hands that knowledge is. Bro really had no idea what was coming to him. Good. Fuck him. Poor Whittle Bulbous and Colta. Did you get a little bit too addicted to fascism? Huh? Is that what happened, Big Dog? Is that you got too addicted to fascism? You got too addicted to fascism and now you can't see where landmines are in your path because you're such a dickhead? Is that what happened? Am I supposed to feel sorry for you about that? Ay, ay, ay. The Legion well and truly is. Okay, so do not take my words out of context. The Legion is the best faction, not because I like their ideology or anything, but because it's just so fun to shit on them. Yeah, did somebody step on a couple million landmines? Like, I'm glad that the Legion was created, if only because like it creates as like this kind of like filter for people who can understand like Hegel and those who can't. Sometimes V puts that video of like the courier getting pissed off at Kaiser for a misunderstanding or misinterpreting Hegelian dialectics, and it's so fucking good. They have straight up they made the one faction that is a perfect interpretation and roasting of armchair intellectuals. It's so funny. You know, sometimes I am a little worried, right, that like my media literacy isn't up to par, and like I might be too easily swayed by propaganda. But then I see like people who are like, "Oh, Senator Armstrong had a total point in Metal Gear Rising. Oh, Kaiser had a real good talking points during Fallout New Vegas," and I realize, oh no, okay, I'm the normal amount of media literate. I'm like an ordinary amount of media literate. Bro speaks at length about how he's onto nothing, and people still salivate over him because he just has a tiny bit of charisma. Yeah, no. On the one hand, right, it's important to like make sure that your characters are entertaining and are interesting to hear and see and whatnot, right? And furthermore, it's not your responsibility for how people interpret those characters. However, whenever I see people like latch onto charismatic figure and like be like, oh man, this dude's spitting when he's really not. I don't know. It kind of makes me never want to write like a charismatic villain. Like I'm like, this is too dangerous of a power. Y'all have clearly demonstrated you are not prepared for that kind of heat. God, I guess to some extent it is just trusting in your audience, right? Like if you like write a faction out to be cartoonishly evil, you're hoping that your audience will understand that, right? Some people do manage to impress, even in those circumstances. Impress perhaps may not be the correct word, but it's certainly impressive to me in a certain sense of the word. Okay, let's put this one down over here. Okay, and then impressive, negative. Impressive, derogatory. God. Well, I suppose that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, right? Also, I do need to figure out where I left the dweebs firing at Hawk on here. I guess I could kind of triangulate from over here. Okay, this dude near the ladders would definitely be popping off. Then there's also this guy over here with the plug. Hmm. Let me put this guy up over here. Did I put? Holy shit! Did I actually put the caterpillar treads on this tank too? Like, wait, I thought the caterpillar tread thing was just like a thing that I made up for this one here. Did I accidentally put that on here too? How far? Wait, no, hold up. This is fucking me. This is seriously messing me up. What did I add that last time? What? I thought for sure that I gave this thing wheels and I just put it on like a podium somewhere. It always had caterpillar treads? Am I that predictable? Ay, ay, ay. Well, I guess I won't let it bother me for the time being. If it works, right? Let's not think too hard about it. Still, that's a little embarrassing. Alright. Okay. Let's move the guy here over to here. Okay, so we've got one, relatively speaking. Hang on. We've got one here. Here. Here on top of the truck, here on the ladder. And we can have the one dude passed out over here. Maybe we should also have one here. Yeah, I feel like that's enough to make it feel like she's being barraged by lasers. I'll worry about the lasers themselves once we get into the coloring stage, because it's honestly easier to do at that point. Okay. Actually, let me bring this back just so I have a reference for the truck with the power plug. Although I guess it would be facing a slightly different direction, wouldn't it? I also gotta get rid of Hawk for the time being. Not like she'll be completely irrelevant. Maybe I should like keep her a very light copy of her over here. But I just gotta learn to prioritize, right? Vaguely present. Yeah, the kind of like fleeting memory of Hawk is here for this event. for this leg of the journey. Did I remember to turn on the time lapse for this? I feel like I didn't. No, sir. All right, let's turn on the time lapse for it now. I haven't been exporting those for a while now, so it's not really that big of a loss, but still, it's cool to see them capture most of it, right? Honestly, it's probably for the best that it hasn't been turned on till now. Could you imagine it trying to capture like the 3 passes that I had to do of Hawk before before settling on the one that I've got now? Embarrassing. All right, we got the truck here, and over here we have the big old plug. Hmm. Okay, then we put the little part of the toe out here. This is kind of a funny foot stance, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, then over here. I don't know. So foot stance perhaps too silly for like this firing pose. I got it doesn't really look that way. No. Okay, good. I was a little worried about it being a little bit too goofy, but it seems to be working all right. We all got that one homie in the squad who fires off his laser pistol like he's at the Met Gala. The one goon who just like inexplicably has a very cunty way of firing the gun. Yeah, I feel like this stance honestly works. Okay, then over here. I'm glad that my fears about it working or not working were unfounded. Well, perhaps it's because I had those fears that it worked out so well. So maybe it's not so much that they were unfounded, but that they were averted. I don't know. Thinking about like whether your worrying affects something or not can lead to a dangerous spiral, I feel. Like, does that mean I should worry about it or that I shouldn't worry about it? In my mind, you'll worry about it one way. You'll worry about it as much as you need to worry about it, or however much you need to like worry about it to like soothe yourself, right? I don't know. I feel like some people only get soothed if they worry about something. For me, I definitely feel like I work harder or I work as much as I need to, especially if I'm like worried about something. So in one way, it can be a motivational factor, but I guess it shouldn't be something you try to like rely on. Okay, I love this stupid dumbass huge plug that I made. I just think it's kind of cool whenever like a large mechanism requires an equally large plug. You see somebody like plug in like a man-sized or like elephant-sized plug into a machine, and you're like, oh, okay, so this thing ain't fucking around. This is not just some machine. This is like the machine. Better recognize. Things that will always be awesome. Needing to flip a bunch of switches before activating something, having a huge plug that needs to be chambered in correctly, and also having things that kind of like lock together in joints. Those are the coolest things, I believe. I do want to expand this side just a tiny bit, just so that it's not with the so just so that it doesn't cut off just above this cloud of steam here. And it kind of works a little bit. Okay, then expand this over here. Erase these two. Okay, I think that should be good for the box over here. We also need some dude on ladder duty back here. Is this all the same layer? Okay, I'm gonna put this guy on a different layer just in case. This guy had a rifle, didn't he? Yeah. It'll be held a little bit higher compared to the pistol on the other guy. The arm movement would also be a little bit different. Let me thin this guy out a little bit and make him smaller. Because right now he's kind of huge. Dude, you look huge. Something about his eyeglasses is also a little bit strange. Okay. It's kind of got to be crazy being the guy that fires from midway through climbing a ladder, because then you get hit once and you're falling off the ladder like you're in a WWE promo or something. You're an underpaid stunt person in like an old western movie. Honestly, just a bad place to be. Yeah, that's definitely not OSHA compliant. Okay, wait. Which side did this guy get shot on? Okay. He got shot on his left hand shoulder, which means the right hand would be clutching it. It'd be the opposite of this. Okay, then put out the belt here. Forgot to give this guy the little flappy things on the side of his pants. The hem of the shirt, I mean. Top 10 worst places to be during an action scene shootout. Number one gotta be the ladder. Number two is probably like right over the railing, over like a mysterious vat of perhaps glowing liquid or something. And then like when you fall in there, when you get shot, you like see your hand reach out, but it's like already melting and stuff. That's probably like the second worst, or perhaps it's a contender for first worst. But it's like situational, right? A ladder could be anywhere. A vat of like mysterious caustic substance is like limited to like in factories. So that alone ranks and puts down like by one tier or two for me at least. Bad places to be shot at have to be kind of like a universal thing to me, right? Like in my opinion, it's got to suck no matter where it happens, and it has to happen anywhere. Yeah, no, you just need to kind of be resigned to your fate that you're going to look like it's a Joker for the rest of your days, or perhaps Jeff the Killer. Also, this guy's like way too big. This is helping. Okay. Yeah, definitely slightly smaller on this guy, but I might hit him with the thin brush or the thinning brush. Okay. Then the next two. Okay, we had three more dudes, three additional guys shooting at Hawk, and then we're more or less done with this scene, with the line art for this page or for this panel. Okay, then we need to just like this one, but we can take care of that one in the next time on Dragon Ball Z. Can I like lower the opacity of this? Thank you. I gotta head to bed early today. Not for any particular reason. It's not like I'm waking up early tomorrow. I just feel like I've been lacking sleep recently. Well, I say that, but I'm probably gonna end up going to bed late anyway. But I should try to make an effort to wake up early. I got some important stuff to take care of tomorrow in the afternoon, so it's good if I go in well rested. At the very least, it's not gonna hurt to be well rested. Okay, there we go. A phrase that I frequently remember from my parents is "Un burro bien dormido es mejor que un sabio trasnochado," which literally means a well-slept donkey is more useful than a sleep-deprived sage. When the sleep fights back, that's really it, isn't it? Well, I'm not the first person to have trouble with their sleep schedule. I mean, it certainly won't be the last. I guess to some extent that is a comfort. That is a pretty great saying. I use it a lot to myself. Just how it's important to have sayings to amp yourself up. I think it's also sayings that are like genuinely designed to keep you in good health go pretty hard. Like you're right, it is genuinely that important that you need to like coin a phrase to succinctly provide a metaphor for like the importance of it. I understand. Like I see the vision. This guy's kind of stanced up, isn't he? Important to have a diverse ecosystem of sayings. Yeah. Although the one issue with having a diverse ecosystem of sayings is that occasionally they get mixed up. I remember for a while I used to use "we'll cross that bridge when we burn it" rather than "we'll cross that bridge when we get to it," and everybody used to laugh at it a lot. But like I didn't even know I was doing anything wrong. Like I was not aware that I was mangling that. I thought I was just saying it normally. I thought I was using that thing normal style. Well, I guess depending on your point of view, that might be seen as a feature rather than a bug. Okay, then over here. We could have another one of these guys. I kind of like how this dude came out, so maybe I can just grab him. Okay, grab this, grab this, grab this, ungrab this. Okay, and then over here, we're going to plonk this guy down all the way over. Oh, he is really big, comparatively speaking. Yeah, Jeebers, just look at him. Look at how thick his lines are because I scaled him down. Oh my gosh. Actually, maybe I can flip it around a little bit. It's just weird as this one actually work better for the truck since he's like. Actually, no. Huh. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna be on that grind. Also, I think I'm gonna nix the guy over here since he's probably gonna be covered up by a speech bubble anyway. And with that, I think we have this panel ready to go. I'll add some laser effects over here. Yeah, guy deleted. You have been revoked from the Council of Guys. Hiya! Alright. With that, I think that's enough work for today. We've made some good progress on this panel. I'm gonna go to bed. Alright. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, what remains of it, and I hope you have a good week. I will be back on Tuesday with more comic work, and hope to see you there. Alright, later. Bye.